I'm getting my hopes up, and I kind of think the Bears got it right this time, and Ben Johnson's going to lead us to victory.
You know what? This is actually a great business issue to talk about, because what are you supposed to feel as a fan or as a leader? You know, I'm so hoping this hire is going to work out.
Exactly. And it's the same owner, right? Since 2011, the same guy has hired 6 different head coaches and has told us he's changed things along the way. And, this time is the right time. And I mean, like, I've owned a business before. I know it's difficult, and sometimes you just make the same mistake over and over again, or you hire somebody and they just don't work out, no matter how good you felt like they were in the interview process. So I kind of sympathize with George McCaskey to a little bit. Like, yeah, I mean, it's got to be hard to find a head coach who can beat 31 other maniac head coaches, right?
I did see a little bit on this, and like, they're paying him like he's going to be one of the highest paid coaches in the NFL, and he's never head coached one game.
I mean, he was the top candidate in this cycle, so that's got to be a win, right? We got the top candidate available. That means it's got to work.
Yeah, see, that's very interesting to me, and that's the way hiring works, honestly. Whether you're a team owner of $1 billion enterprise, or you've got a small business, or whatever even if you're a solopreneur and you're trying to get some contract help, it's who is available at the time, and you're looking for the best candidate, but you may not have the right fish in the pond at that time, And so you go, well, we got the best candidate at the time, but they weren't the best coach you could have ever hired,
And there's also this other question that only time can answer when it comes to football, but like, is that best candidate the best candidate for your organization? Like, culturally, is he going to align? Is he going to mesh with the people you already have in place, the staff, the players, everything like that? That's all to be determined, no matter how many interviews you go through.
Yeah. This is okay. So you're swerving into something that's really fascinating. And I learned this a long, long time ago. And actually, there was a Harvard Business Review article on this. And it was like, so the other option is like, okay, you look in the pool and you go, okay, these are the best candidates at the time, or I go recruit and I'm going to try to steal somebody from somebody else. Steal is maybe a little harsh, but anyhow. So let's say they find someone and they pull them out of that company and they drop them into there. This happens all the time. On the big corp level, okay, the Fortune 100, 500, those kind of companies. But here's the problem with that. You pull that guy or gal out, okay, they have a whole infrastructure around them that's been built of people. And that's all stays at the old corp. They go to the new corp. That's why a lot of these guys fail. And that's what the Harvard Business Review was discovering, was the failure rate's pretty significant.
Yeah, that's exactly what we have to figure out. If Ben Johnson, coming from a successful Lions team to the dysfunctional Bears, is he going to be able to mesh with all the people who've been operating in dysfunction for so long? And part of what gives me a little optimism is in his press conference, he was talking about setting expectations with players and holding each other accountable. The players holding him accountable to what he said he was going to do, him holding the players accountable to what he said they need to do. And so kind of that expectation setting, because if you're coming from an organization where you know everybody, they start to know your expectations and your standards, and that communicating that early on, that has to be one of the keys to successfully transitioning leadership.
Yeah. So how do you end up hiring successful people? Oh yeah. You just go hire a successful person, and then they're going to bring that success along with them.
Yeah, that's definitely cliche and very black and white. Doesn't go into the gray area. But I do think that you can hire a successful winning leader who can transform an organization. If he's coming from a place where they were operating a world-class organization, and you're, still, maybe you're just coming from your startup phase and you've gotten more investment dollars and you're trying to take that next level, he might actually help you shape what that next level looks like and create those standards and expectations for everybody to go towards, because he's been there and done that.
Well, and as we're talking about this, guys, I mean, the coaching world is a great place to sort of study this and then bring best practices into your business. And what I'm thinking about is like, if you're an understudy, like, and I know the college football way better than the pros, but like, we all know who Nick Saban is. Okay. Probably the greatest football coach ever. And at least to the present. And so there's been a number of head coaches who coached under him, learned best practices, and took those to a variety of different schools who have now won national championships or top in their league and blah, blah, blah. And so I think the same can apply, where it's like, I'm not hiring the head guy. I'm hiring like the number 2 or number 3 guy, but the head guy is super successful. And you see that with certain CEOs, and we're going to take this guy down here and have him either run the company, be the CEO, or we're going to move him up. So it's not a lateral move, it's an up move, but we want him to bring best practices and success to our company. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, and you kind of touched on this earlier with how the Bears' new head coach doesn't have any head coaching experience. Do you think that kind of pulling somebody from one org and promoting them into your org, do you because if you just take the top guy in one place, he's already risen to the top. Maybe he's got too big of an ego built up where it's always going to be his way or the highway, because I was top dog over here, now I'm top dog over here. Whereas this guy who you pull from a lower position and say, now we're going to send you up here, they've kind of got that adjustment curve. They know that they have things to learn. They know they're not ready for everything, and they're going to need people around them to help them. That's exactly what Ben Johnson was talking about, how he's taken time to kind of map out all of what he has to do now that he's not just running the offense, he's got to run the whole operation. Do you think like the humility of that promotion is a helpful thing in business?
Well, okay. So on my bookshelf back here is a book called Good to Great. To me, it's the business Bible. And Level 5 leaders incorporate what I'm about to say. And that is, they bring in people who are better than they are. They're bigger personalities, maybe. They're smarter. They're more talented. But a great leader can handle all of that. And because you're surrounding yourself with great people and you're cutting them loose to go do great things, you rise with them.
That's exactly what Ben Johnson was talking about.
Okay.
Because he's coming from Detroit and they have Dan Campbell as their head coach. He's a really like tough, energetic, like really unique, like prototypical football coach, I would say.
Right.
Ben Johnson has a computer science degree and is a little bit on the nerdier end of the spectrum like me. Ben Johnson was asked a question like, how are you going to lead differently? Like, you're not the macho guy like Dan Campbell who you learned under.
Right.
And Ben Johnson's answer was, yeah, I'm not that guy. I have to be myself. But one of the things I learned best from him was his ability to delegate, where he gave me full control of the offense and trusted me to do it, and he gives people responsibility and empowers them with everything he can for them to succeed in that, and trust that they're great at what they do. And in this specific task, they can do great.
Yeah. See, I don't think the word delegate is the right word there. I think what you just said is the right word. He empowers people. And I mean, yeah, that is technically delegation, but I've seen a plethora of bad delegation. And most of it looks like this. It's like the owner says, yeah, I don't know what the accounting's all about. Just go fix all that. And it's like out of sight, out of mind. And you go like, oh, he is such a great, I've actually heard this. He is such a great delegator because, he lets people go and do things. I go, no, he's a terrible delegator because he never follows up. But if you are a leader who empowers others, then you're tracking with them on this stuff. But they're fully free to do what they want to do. And so that style is very promising.
Yeah, so that leader you were describing, he's kind of just delegating the stuff he doesn't want to do. It's just taking stuff off of my to-do list rather than empowering people to be like, hey, you are in charge of accounting. And what do you need from me as the CEO to help you lead the accounting department?
Well, Actually, it's worse than that, because the particular company I'm thinking about, and guys, we're talking about companies, we're talking 10, 15, 20 million dollars in gross revenue annually. I mean, we're not talking little dinky companies here, okay? And these guys, it wasn't stuff they didn't want to do. It was stuff they were never going to do and had never been done. And you're like, how do you run your company with no numbers? Okay. Don't get me started on that. That's a whole nother podcast. But it's like, what? And so they just, they're open for fraud. They're open for anything. And employees who understand this can take advantage of them. And consequently, the company is a lackluster performer because the leader isn't leading. It's out of sight, out of mind or something. Yeah, I don't know.
It's like, he's just delegating things that should have been done a while ago. And like, he's just playing catch up with delegation and then not holding people accountable and not having clarity of assignments. Like, this is what you're doing, why you're doing it. And this is the level of inspection I'm going to be coming back to you with. This is how I'm going to need this, how I'm going to use this, like partnering with the people you delegate to so that you're working together in tandem, you're leading, they're following, they're getting it done, and then they report back to you so you know how to lead. That's how you delegate rather than like what you just said, where it's like, oh yeah, we should probably have some numbers to look at. Hey, Mike, go get that figured out.
Right. And a great example, recent example that I've seen of this is, again, I'm more college football. So Ryan Day at Ohio State, they just won the national championship. So he hires in Chip Kelly, who is the head coach at USC or UCLA?
UCLA, yeah.
UCLA. Okay. So he brings Chip Kelly in. So Kelly has run UCLA football, which used to be the real powerhouse, blah, blah, blah.
And before that, he was the head coach of Oregon, and they were really good there. And Chip Kelly's been an NFL head coach too. So he has a lot of head coaching experience.
Okay. All right. See, you know more than I do. All right. Which isn't surprising. Okay. So, but he's leading the offense. Ryan Day, because you told me this, used to be an offensive coordinator. All right. So that takes huge humility and great leadership, level 5 leadership, as Jim Collins says, to be able to say, Chip, run the offense. Hands off, run the offense. And they did. And so you're surrounding yourself, Ryan Day is surrounding himself with men who are greater than he is. He's perceiving the talent of Chip Kelly to be better than him at that. And so he cuts him loose. He does that. Took him most of the season to find their legs. But holy smokes, when they found their legs, they just chainsaw through every team they met after that, after the Michigan game, actually, if you're following that.
And that's one of what you just said, it took some time for them to get their legs underneath them.
Right.
Is that I feel like that's something that people might be missing. And that's such a difficult balance now that I'm really thinking about it, because the Bears, their last head coach, Matt Eberflus,
is that a name?
Yeah, it already, like, as I'm saying, it already sounds like a bad football coach. But anyways,
I could have called that
one. Before this past season, when everything just fell apart, the Bears were 7-10 the season prior, and the fan base was kind of split. Chicago Bears fans almost always are, on whether we should keep Eberflus or fire him and restart it. And the ownership decided, let's keep him and give him time to figure it out. We think we've seen some signs of growth and positive signs. They waited out. The wheels all fall off this past season, and now the Bears just were the laughing stock of the league. But then you've had the other end of the spectrum where Ryan Day, he let Chip Kelly take the offense. He noticed mid-year it wasn't popping like he thought it was going to be, but he just let Chip keep doing it until Chip got in sync with all the players, and then it worked out. I mean, I guess the time frames I'm talking about here, Eberflus, we gave 3 years. Chip Kelly was figuring it out over the course of the season. But like, when you hire somebody new, they might not blow you away right away, and you might have to wait until they get fully comfortable and acclimated to your organization.
Yeah, and that's what you're talking about there is, do you wait a year? Do you wait 3 years? How long do you give them? And to me, a good leader, you are tracking with these people. And I'm talking your key leadership team. I'm not talking about, like, I always kind of the fallback is like the receptionist or now the virtual assistant person or something. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about like the people in your organization that you are depending on. And I mean, I've seen lots of good hires, but I've seen way more bad hires. And so a good leader is tracking with them, and they can see they can predict. You know this is going to work out or it's not.
But what do you base that on? Like, what are you tracking along the way to know if this person's going to end up being successful for you?
So it's a lot of things, and a lot of it's subjective, and a lot of it is experience. So you've got to get burned a few times. In other words, you've got to learn what doesn't work as well as what does work. And and I've done a lot with personality profiles, and we used them in hiring, but we also kept using them in leading and managing people, because we knew who we were looking for from a profile standpoint, but we also knew who we were avoiding from a profile standpoint. And why? Because of the culture of our company. We had profiled the entire company. We knew we had a profile on our culture. So let's go to football. Let's just take the Bears. Losing culture, okay? I want to profile people who have coming from winning cultures, right? Because I want them to turn my organization around. So, but they may be able to do that, but then I'm watching the whole thing and I'm going like, well, wait a minute. They're getting sabotaged by a losing mentality in the front office, let's say. I don't know. Like, we're never going to sell any tickets this year, And so there's this negativity vibe all the way through, and they don't have any control over that, but they do get hit with it. And finally, they just go, you know what? I'm going to take a job somewhere else. It just sucks.
And that's what you're talking about with the profiles. That's exactly what I was thinking, because initially you said you had to get burned a few times, and that's going through the school of hard knocks. But it sounds like what you did was profile everybody in the company, people who are succeeding, people who have failed, and that's hopeful. I mean, you're going to get burned a few times still, but by just inventorying what's already worked and what hasn't worked, that can hopefully help you avoid a few of those hard knocks along the way. And now, as you're talking about like losing cultures, it's just screaming to me what the problem is with the Bears. Is right. It's a family run operation, which is great. It's good to have the family involved. It's better.
Have you ever been in a family operation?
Well, I'm saying it's better than like the private equity guys who.
Okay.
The Johnson & Johnson heirs, like the Jets got going on. Like I'd rather this small family who built everything around the Bears. I guess it's fine.
It's nostalgic. Okay. Fine.
Yeah, it's nice, right?
They don't win games, but it's nostalgic.
Yeah, exactly. But great grandpa, he was great. George Halas, he was one of the founders of the league, so it like carries on tradition.
He invented football or something. Yeah,
or the NFL basically.
Yeah, that's really interesting. So I was in a family business, and multi-million-dollar business, retail, and led sales teams, and we would do that. We would profile the most successful people because we wanted to try to find people like that. We understood that, and we wanted to avoid what we were trying to determine, and we figured out some real important keys. What made success and what made not success or unsuccess, so to speak. But yeah, this whole thing about you need to operate on a world-class basis. And that's why a book like Good to Great, or of course my book, The Next Level Entrepreneur with a Navigator, we're talking about high-powered tools that you can use to lead your company and engineer it to next levels that you never dreamed of.
Yeah, and you can do that anywhere you're at. Like the Chicago Bears decide not to do it, even though they're in Chicago. But like you look at another franchise, for me, an example, cross sports, but the Oklahoma City Thunder. They've been a basketball team in Oklahoma for about 20 years, and they're one of the best run organizations in the league, and they're in Oklahoma of all places, where the Bears are in Chicago, and they can't get on that same world-class level of just organizational operation.
Yeah. I mean, right, the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah, exactly.
2 Super Bowls, and they may be headed to a 3rd Super Bowl. We're recording this before we know the Super Bowl results.
Hopefully not.
But the point is that it's Kansas City. It isn't New York. It isn't LA. You've got to blow the doors off of the mindset. And I think it does come down to a lot of self-talk and negativity and not believing in yourself. And when you start to believe in yourself and you go, you know what, we can make this huge. We can make this great. You know, it changes stuff. And that, you may not have to go hire somebody.
Yeah. And that makes me think of the book right behind you, The Next Level Entrepreneur, where that sounds very much like that beginning envisioning scene. It's like, what do you want this organization to look like? How do you want it to feel? Right. When you go to work every day, when you go into the office, what are you seeing? How do people respond? What is the energy of all the employees? What are the profiles of your employees? What does sales feel like? You talk about it and you detail it in your book, actually walking through the building and envisioning what your success looks like. And then as the owner, that you envision that, and then that's the expectation and the standard. And now you have to drive everybody to that rather than, oh, we're the small family bears and we're just going to do things in a nice way and hope for the best. No, we're going to operate, even though we are small, we're going to operate like the best football team, the best football organization in the world, in the best city in the country. And we're going to figure out how to do it with next level strategies. And the Bears need a next level navigator, is my opinion. But
well, yeah. So let me just correct one little small thing. You said drive them to it, and actually it's lead them to it, because you will notice as great leaders throughout history lay out a vision, and you lay out a vision for your company. People will grab hold of it, and people will come alongside of you. Yeah, I'd love for you to buy my book. It's on Amazon, shameless plug, and there's a link in the description below. But honestly, just a great envisioning, you're going to start to rally the whole company around that, and you will achieve a next level. Well, we've kind of been all over the board on this, but do you feel any better about your Chicago Bears new coach?
You know, I actually do. I think he's hitting almost all the points that we talked about here.
Okay, good.
The Bears we're going to make the playoffs next year.
If the Bears are in the playoffs next year, we'll do a follow-up podcast a year from now. But if they're not, we'll probably just wait.
If you're looking to take your business to the next level, remember to click that link down below for the Business Savvy Jumpstart. And in the meantime, click on this video here. I go into more detail on the mess that is the Chicago Bears and what unsuccessful ownership looks like compared to successful NFL ownership. And in the meantime, may you live truly free.